Thanks for joining me. Today I wanted to talk about a wise woman that we find in the Bible. It says in 2 Samuel chapter 20 and verse 16, "Then cried a wise woman." Now here in the context we have David, king over Israel, but it's not without trouble. And that's because some of his past sins and decisions, but we see now his son, Absalom, is trying to get the kingdom against him and trying to take all the power. And so David is in fear of his life, but he's also trying to find his son. He's trying to stop and solve the problem. And of course, that's what sin will do. It'll cause much problems and trouble in our life. And so as Absalom is rebelling against the king, of course, anytime there's a rebel, there's going to be followers. And so there's other people that are taunting David and getting under his skin. And we see here in 2 Samuel chapter 20, a man named Sheba who tries to get the rest of the children of Israel to go against David. And it says here in verse 1, "And there happened to be there a man of Belial, whose name was Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjamite. And he blew a trumpet and said, 'We have no part in David.'" And so this is a troublemaker, and he's trying to defy the king that God has set in his place. And so in verse 6, David says, "Go out and take care of this." He says this to his men. And Joab is one of his right-hand men, and he goes out, and he chases this man into a city. They come up to this walled city, and they're about to tear it down. And that's where the wise woman comes in play. It says here in verse 13, "And when he was removed out of the highway, all the people went up after Joab to pursue after Sheba, the son of Bichri. And they cast up a bank against the city, and it stood in the trench. And all the people that were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down." And so the people in the city are now troubled because of this man, Sheba, who has brought trouble their way. And they don't want trouble like that. But now they're going to have to pay the price if they're going to house this criminal. And this is where the wise woman steps in. In verse 16 it says, "Then cried a wise woman out of the city, 'Hear, say, I pray you, unto Joab, come near hither, that I may speak with thee.' And when he was come near unto the woman, she said, 'Art thou Joab?' And he answered and said, 'I am he.' Then she said unto him, 'Hear the words of thine handmaid.' And he answered, 'I do hear.' And so now she's going to negotiate for the rest of the city. It says in verse 19, "I am one of them that are peaceable and faithful in Israel. Thou seekest to destroy a city and a mother in Israel? Why wilt thou swallow up the inheritance of the Lord?" And Joab answered and said, far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy." So now in verse 21, Joab explains that you have a criminal, a man that we need, a man that needs to be taken out. And it says at the end of verse 21, "The woman said unto Joab, Behold, his head shall be thrown to thee over the wall." In other words, don't come in, don't destroy us, don't hurt the rest of us. We'll take care of him. We'll deliver the criminal to you. And in verse 22 it says, "And the woman went out and all the people in her wisdom, and they cut off the head of Sheba, and they gave it to Joab." And so we see here that she saved the city from much destruction. This man was coming and he was going to start a lot of trouble. He was bringing trouble their way. And that's where a wise woman stepped in. So I want to notice some things about this wise woman. She didn't run away and hide. She wasn't afraid. In boldness, she came forth and made sure she solved the problem. Now imagine, if you're in this situation, you'd be pretty scared. You have a whole army outside the city wall, and they're about to take it down. And they're about to come in, and they're about to search for this man and cause a lot of destruction. You'd probably be in fear of your life. For her to come up and speak to the commander and try to find a solution to this problem was very bold. And so we see this woman that she doesn't stick around when she knows a way to fix the problem. She comes with boldness. She's a woman of peace. And then it says here in verse 19, "I am one of them that are peaceable and faithful in Israel." She proclaims, hey, I'm not only a child of God, but I am a peaceable and faithful one of Israel. Think about it. Are you a faithful person in church today? Are you a faithful servant of God today? She was faithful. She knew she was faithful. In other words, people knew of her. She was serving God all the time. With her life, it showed a life of giving God the glory. And so we see that this woman was eligible, was ready. This was a time for her not to sit back and just let things happen. She knew she needed to take action to protect herself and her people. And it says, "And the woman said unto Joab, Behold, his head shall be thrown to thee over the wall. And the woman went out and all the people in her wisdom." Notice this woman is influential. Now she explains to her people how this plan is going to make sense. She's able to influence people and tell people in her wisdom because she has wise words. And so at the end of the day, this woman helped save this city from trouble. And she also helped David and Joab and the army. Of course, they didn't have to fight. They didn't have to go in there and cause destruction, but they were able to come up with an easy solution because of this wise woman. Today, if you're a woman, are you wise? Are you ready to take action with your wisdom?